Hey everybody, James Stone here, NorCal Guides and Sportsmen's Association, coming to you live on this wonderful day we have here today. We're going to be talking about Chinook salmon today and mainly what's coming back into our rivers, what the forecast looks like moving into next year so far, and then also an update on the American River Hatchery, which is kind of a big topic right now that a lot of people are seeing articles and news press releases, and it's not quite clear to the general public what's going on. So we're going to wait about 30-45 seconds here, and then we'll get underway. In the meantime, if you're interested in coming to our big fundraising dinner on November 8th in Marysville, California, we've got the big dinner, and it's almost sold out. There's a few tables left, and there's a few tickets left. So if you want to get a table or tickets, please reach out to either Amy Ferguson at 530-588-5513, or you can go to our website at ncgasa.org and get signed up for the dinner today. Really excited about that, and it's going to be a great time as always, and really excited to see everyone. Also, if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, also please go check that out. Go to YouTube, find NorCal Guides and Sportsmen's Association, smash the subscribe button, and then you'll get updated whenever we release a new type of video or anything else that we might have. So I'm going to make this kind of video as quick, as fast as I possibly can. I know it's lunchtime and everybody might be able to watch or might not, but we just want to kind of talk about what's going on. So what's going on out there, everybody? Well, as many of you know, there was only 6 days of opportunity out in the ocean this year in 2025, and there was only about 60 days of opportunity in some of the inland rivers, which were the Feather, the American, and the McCollum, which each only had a one fish limit. And so there was very limited and truncated opportunity this year. You know, I mean, keep in mind that one of the number one reasons that the commercial fleet decided to opt out was not only because they didn't have enough fish to make a viable business, but they also wanted to send fish home to make sure that these fish coming home this year could actually spawn, they have good water, and that our hatcheries get all of their mitigation eggs. So kudos to them, because it's a really important piece of this puzzle. But here we are now at the fourth week of spawning that's going on in the Sacramento River. We've already done a full 3 weeks of spawning at the Feather River Hatchery, and the American River Hatchery is projected to open sometime in the first week of November. And so, and same with the McCollum Hatchery down there. So what can I give you information on? Let's start with the Feather River. The Feather River had a season in the upper area that was a 60-day season, and now you can still fish in the lower Feather from Nicholas Bridge up to Live Oak. And you have another, what do we got, about 10 more days left up there. So you can watch up there, and you can go fishing up there from Live Oak to Nicholas and still have some opportunity for Chinook salmon up there in these next 10 days. And the Feather River saw a decent return. We figured that it was going to see a decent return. There was nothing that gave anybody a window or an idea that we weren't going to see decent amount of fish come back. Generally because those fish are trucked. So those fish imprint on main stem Feather River water, and then when they get trucked to the bay, as far west as they do, the survival rate's pretty high on a lot of those fish. And they imprint, which means that as long as you imprint and you survive, that means the adult returns 3 to 4 years later will be good. And that's what we're seeing. So we're seeing a decent return on the Feather River. Very happy. It was a record-breaking spring run return on the Feather River, almost 18,000 fish. So we're expected to see tens of thousands of fall run Chinook being counted on the Feather River, and so that's a really good positive. We don't have an exact number, but tens of thousands. So last year, I think they said it was around like 40. The year before, they said 60. So I would guess it's going to be, at least 40 minimum, and probably maybe 60, and it could even be a little bit higher on the Feather River this year. We'll see when those numbers come out here in the next 30 to 45 days. But the big key to it is that there was just a ton of jacks, which are 2-year-old fish, Yeah, somebody just commented, Isa West, yeah, great comment. A lot of jacks this year. So that tells us that there's going to be a lot of fish next year. So you could expect to see a lot more fish than you saw this year than next year, because next year will be the full 3-year cycle of getting out of this drought, poor water management, poor stock recruitment, poor cohort reconstruction, and we will actually start getting back to a place to where fishing looks a little bit more normal. I don't think that we're going to get back to a full normal yet, and I say that just cautiously because I don't want to be ranting and raving that we're going to be wide open fishing next year and then it doesn't happen. But I will tell you that it looks a lot better than it did this year, and everything is projecting exactly the way that we've been forecasting for a few years. So that's a real positive news on the Feather River. Moving up to the Sacramento River. The Sacramento River is in the best shape that we've seen since 2019. That's 6 years. It has been very poor returns for 6 years. And the last 3 years have been just utterly pitiful. And so therefore, we're very happy to report that we're going to see some of the highest escapement numbers, which means they escaped from the ocean, escaped from predators, escaped from the fishery, and are going to spawn either in the hatchery or in the river this year. Some of the best news out there. We're really excited to report that. So for those of you that were doubters, or, didn't like, or were completely against sitting out of fishing the last couple of years, I get it. I know you want to fish, but a little short-term pain is better than, the long-term gain. And the short-term pain that we experience for not being able to fish in the ocean in 23, 24, and only 6 days in 25, and only a few days inland, is now leading us to exactly where we need to be. So I'm ecstatic. It's exactly what we were hoping for as an industry. It was us as the industry and recreational anglers that understand this issue deep, because we live, eat, breathe, and die on the river. We know the river better. We know the conditions better than anyone out there. We're on the body of water every single day, and therefore our voice needs to be echoed and amplified so that people that are sitting in cubicles, people that don't work on the fisheries every single day, can get a little bit better clarity of understanding what we know, what we historically know. And that's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of returns, fishing, opportunity, recruitment, water conditions, and everything else. And so I just want to say that thank you to everyone that has been very patiently standing by. The Sacramento is in really good shape, a lot better shape than we were hoping. If we would have had a collapse again this year, it would have been really, really, really bad. But luckily, we have a small rebound. I don't know how big that rebound is going to be, but I'm telling you, we got fish in Clear Creek. We got fish in Battle Creek. We got fish on the main stem. We got fish starting to move up some of the other tribs or staging at the tribs in Deer and Mill. So that's very positive news. And I think that that is going to echo and rebound big tenfold for us in 3 years of what we're going to have as abundance out in the ocean. That's going to take a lot of pressure off the Sacramento system. But the Sacramento system is the largest contributor to the SI, the Sacramento Index, which is the Sac Feather American. So those 3 rivers together have to have a minimum escapement of 122,000 per the standard law now. And in the future, that escapement goal will be risen up to have more fish returning to the rivers, to allow more fish to come back so that we can start rebuilding and build ourselves up so that we don't ever get ourselves in this situation again. With that being said, I'm super thankful to Coleman National Fish Hatchery, and specifically their leadership, and the hatchery manager, Brett Gallion, and the number 2, Bob Knoll, have been doing a fantastic job just working through adversity. And I just have to say that if you're in the area and you can stop by Coleman and give them a shout, please do. If you can't, get onto their social media and tell them thank you, because they are working harder than ever. They are going to take more eggs than they've taken since 1999 because of the Bridge Group. The Bridge Group is compiled of the 3 fisheries groups of charter, commercial, and inland. And that's our group. And then combined with the Sacramento River Settlement Contractors and Northern California Water Association with all the Northern California farmers. That's the bridge group. So when you hear me say the bridge group, it's farmers and fishermen working together. We've been working together since the first closure of 2023. And I'm happy to report to you all that finally they were planning on doing our full plan in 2023, but then we didn't get enough fish back on the Sacramento and it collapsed. And then they were going to do it last year and we didn't get enough fish back and it still was collapsed. This year, we got enough fish back. They're going to take eggs. They've already got over 12 million eggs at the hatchery already. Okay. And we're in the 4th week of spawning right now. We're starting the 4th week of spawning. And I just want to say thank you to Coleman. Make sure you go to their page and thank them because they are doing great work right now. They're working around the clock. They're working super hard. They're doing everything outside of their comfort zone. And we understand that. And I just want to make sure that you understand that for the first time, they're going to be raising possibly upwards of 24, 25, 26 million fall run Chinook salmon this year, when a normal year would only be 12 million. So that's what they're going to do. And that's going to be the next 10 years minimum and could historically be forever. We will find out. But a lot of great information there. And we're super excited and grateful to Coleman National Fish Hatchery. Thank you guys. My best to you, your families, and every one of your volunteers and everyone at that facility. While the federal government shut down, the federal workers are still working. They're still spawning fish at Coleman National Fish Hatchery. Thank you for that. Also, up at Livingston Stone below Shasta Dam, the winter run numbers are looking great, and they got their eggs up there, so everything's looking very positive for the winter run up there, which is a species that we're concerned about, but we can't actually angle for. We haven't been able to catch those since 1989. So that gives you kind of an update on the Sacramento, on the feather. Let's move real quick down to the American. And actually, before I go to the American River, let me just preach real quick about the upper rivers, Klamath, Trinity, and coastals. So the coastal rivers are all starting to see a lot of good rain. We're waiting to get some openings according to flow gauges. So make sure we'll be reporting all of that information up there. There is opportunity to go fishing on the eel for a catch and release fishery during the correct flows. There's opportunity on the Smith River as well to get up there. And then there's steelhead fishing opportunity on the Klamath and Trinity rivers. Although you can't retain and keep a Chinook salmon, you can still go fishing for other species on those rivers. So get a hold of your local guides. If you're looking for a guide, reach out to us. We'll direct you to one of the guides that donates to our organization, and we'll push the clientele to the guides that are supporting this great organization, which are hundreds and hundreds of guides across the state of California. So thank you to all the guides that do support this organization through membership and through donated trips to help us fund our organization so that we can keep fighting for all of you. Good morning, Doyle. Hope you're doing well up there on the North Coast. Just talking about you guys. So a lot of fish came back to the Klamath. We don't know how many fish came back to the Klamath because there's no actual counters. There's no cameras. There's no counters. And we don't know how many came back. But we do know that there was extreme amount of good fishing for tribal fisheries. There was non-tribal fisheries. There was zero take for recreational angling, non-tribal. But tribal fisheries had a lot of fishing. They've been catching thousands of salmon. It's been reported to me by hundreds of people that some of the people up there were claiming that it was some of the best fishing they've ever seen. And we know that there was thousands of fish taken. We don't know how many, but the tribal fisheries will report that at the PFMC, and we're hoping that we're going to see accurate reporting there. But what we're seeing above the dam areas, that all the Klamath dams that were removed, is we're not seeing a lot of fish up there. So there's not tons of good updated news to update you with up there. It's very, very small numbers. I have the numbers. I've been asked not to report the numbers yet, but they're low. They're really, really low. Last year, we weren't even able to get enough fish to take the eggs at the hatchery. We only raised, I think, 300,000 or 400,000 salmon at the hatchery at Fall Creek last year on the Klamath. And this year, we're going to be in even worse shape if we don't have an alternative plan. We need to get involved with collecting brood stock, and we've got to get some of that extra brood stock up into there. But, you know, I caution you to looking at some of the social media posts. If I didn't know anything about salmon and I had tunnel vision and I was just looking at social media, which of course you can make social media show you on your news feed exactly what you want to see without any opposition, right? So if you don't agree with me, you can just block me, right? If you don't agree with someone else, you can block them. And then your news feed is always telling your brain the same identical thing. But if you want to be educated on a topic, then you want to pull from multiple sources. You want to see both sides of the story, if not 3 or 4 different sides of the story. And the truth comes is that the amount of fish that are coming back above those rim dam areas is very, very minor. It's very minor. In some cases, it's fewer than a dozen fish. In some areas, it's a few dozen fish. In total, we're talking a couple hundred fish. So we're not talking, I'm not giving you exact numbers, but I'm giving you a rough range. We're hoping more continually move upstream and move into those areas. We're hoping that Scott and Shasta rivers get plugged, Jenny Creek and many others, Fall Creek and others get plugged with salmon. But that doesn't look like that's the reality right now, which is going to tell me an alarm bell, because I sat in salmon management for so long, and it sends alarm bells off in other people's that are involved in salmon management planning for the future, that the Klamath is going to be our limiting factor in 2026. It's going to be the piece of the puzzle that doesn't allow you to get on the water as much as you want to. It's not going to be the Sacramento like we thought it was going to be. It's going to be the Klamath. So the Klamath is hurting still, and we need to get better accurate numbers and counts so that we can figure out what's really going on. So our organization and many others and 5 or 6 other organizations are putting forth the recommendation that we have some type of counting system installed into the Klamath River. And we don't know where that would be, but it needs to happen. We need to see how many fish are really returning to that river, and how many fish are being harvested, and how many fish are actually escaping, so that we can get a better idea of what's going on. Because right now it's all self-reporting, and there's a lot of reporting that's done, and the left hand's not talking to the right hand, and this agency doesn't talk to that agency, and this tribe doesn't talk to that tribe, and so we don't really know what's going on. So we need to get a better accurate count of the Klamath River and what's coming back. If we honestly want to be stewards of the river, and we honestly want to better the fishery for everyone, for tribal, non-tribal, for everyone, for the species, then we need to make sure that we're getting better counts on the Klamath and that we know what's going on. The Trinity is starting to see fish. I'm starting to hear reports. Steelhead anglers are telling me that they're incidentally catching a few salmon here and there. And so that's a positive sign that they're starting to see some fish showing up there, and that the hatchery is going to get underway up there. But it looks like they're going to be able to get all of their eggs on the Trinity River for their hatchery, and things are looking positive on the Trinity. So I'll cut back down now to the American, I'll go to the McCollum, and then I'll come back to the American last, because we're going to talk about the hatchery, which is the big topic. So I'm getting to the McCollum. The McCollum's got a little bit of time left. You got about 10 more days left there on the American and on the McCollum, but to go fishing. So get out there, go fishing. There are fish. They're showing up. The big negative is right now on the McCollum is that East Bay mud is not releasing enough water to draw those fish into the system. The last few years with the closures, they've had tens of thousands of fish returning. And then you'll get some reporter that will go do an interview, and they'll say, oh, well, this is the most amount of fish that we've had back in the McCollum. And then they'll write a big old report, and it will go all across the state of California or national news. Record returns of salmon on the McCollum River. Remember, a return is not a record unless there's open fisheries. Keep that in mind. A salmon return is not a record return unless there's open salmon fisheries. So we can't close all fisheries and then claim that we have record returns. Those are two opposite things. So, but the McCollum the last few years has had some amazing returns, and a big thank you to their hatchery manager, Bill Smith. Been doing a fantastic job for decades, but he's just always out there going above and beyond of trying to do anything and everything he can. And really thank you to East Bay Mud on what they allow that hatchery operation to do, and the CDFW employees that man it and staff it. It's a very big thank you. We're very grateful to everything that you're doing there, because you're allowing that system to grow and raise extra fish, which we're able to now move into other systems that need help, as well as complete all of the salmon stamp program, which is the commercial fleet that pay in through their dues. They pay for those fish. And so the commercial fleet has, I think, 3 to 4 million of those fish that are obligated underneath salmon stamp. And then they move those fish out to certain projects and promotions, i.e. some of the commercial fleet's fish go out to Pillar Point to where Coastside Fishing Club raises them and lets them go. But those are fish wouldn't be there for those programs unless the commercial fleet was paying into that. So I want you to know that. So the very same fleet that's been tied to the docks for 3 full years and hasn't moved at all, and by the time they actually maybe get to go fishing next May, it will be 4 full years by the time that they actually get to go. So I want you to know that a lot of people took these concessions and hits this year to make sure we got these fish back. Now, what's going on with the McCollum, and why will the McCollum hatchery not possibly get as many fish back as they have in the past? Because they are not releasing enough water out of Comanche. We've had meetings with them. All of the groups got involved and we started meeting with them and talking about the water releases, the total acre feet that was going to be released. The pulse flow is very minute. It's going to be happening now this week, and they're going to let a little water go to try to push those fish up. But it hasn't been enough to draw them all in from the Delta. And we're hearing there's a lot of fish spread out, salmon, all over Stockton, all over the Tuolumne, Stanislaus, and other areas. San Joaquin seeing some of our fall run fish. So those are a lot of McCollum fish that are straying and going other areas. And we know this, that McCollum fish at times when they're trucked will stray 40 to 70%. And we're aware of this. But if they release water out of Comanche, the fish would come right back to that river. But the reality is how many fish do we really need in the McCollum River for the habitat that's suitable and for the hatchery? That answer is probably about 10,000. So, when you look at that number, anything above 10,000, it starts to become, biologically speaking, a minor problem, right? They use the word superimposition. So when you hear me use that word, superimposition means that 2 salmon come in, the female digs a red, she spawns her eggs, he throws his milt on the top, and now you have fertilized eggs. And then they sit there and those 2 salmon die. And then 14 days later or 2 days later, here comes another pair, and she digs up that nest, and she fans that nest with her tail, and she fans those eggs out of there, and then they lay their eggs on top. That's called superimposition. So spawning on top of spawning. And when that happens, it's not good. And that can cause a lot of egg mortality and prevent those eggs from actually reaching the fry stage and actually, hatching. So that's why the management of the McCollum River doesn't really want to see 20, 30,000 salmon back there. But that's not the reason that they're not releasing water per se, but that's also kind of one of those things where you're like, well, we need water, and they're like, well, we really don't want to have that many fish return. We just want enough fish. So that's really interesting, but that's what's going on in the McCollum River, but everything's looking good. We have a couple of guides out there that are guiding out there. So if you want to get on some fish, you've got a chance. Give some people some call. I just talked to Joey Gomez Jr. The other day, and he was catching them out there. Anthony Cox, Brian McGinty, Kyle Weiss, some others. Not mention everybody. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking off the top of my head of who I've seen lately catching them. Yeah, get out there. Get a hold of one of the guides and get out there and go catch some fish on the McCollum River. Okay, let's get to the American. That's the last one. So the American River, it's always our historical latest run timing. We used to see fish in July, August, September. We really don't see fish in July, August, September anymore. They've killed all those fish off through water operations that have been completely upsetting. And we've started the conversations about the mitigation that needs to be done now in order to start telling the federal government, the Bureau, that they need to start funding a better piece of this pie because they've killed all of our fish in the American River, and they've adjusted the run timing through their water operations. That's very unfortunate. I do want to say that, I'm very thankful for the open dialogue to the Bureau of Reclamation. I'm having multiple conversations every week, which is more than I've ever had before. So these last couple years have been a really great experience with the federal government in regards to working on a lot of these things together. And we are thankful that they're willing to start talking about these things and work on these things. We just need to make sure that they understand what our needs are, what the costs are, and that we need to implement these now, and we can't wait. We're working on the Bureau number 1 for the new main stem hatchery on the Sacramento River, and that's our primary focus on everything. But we kind of got caught into a thing that you all might have seen some articles. We've posted a few, but we've kind of laid it out and not tried to. We've posted other people's articles, but we've kind of stayed away from it because a couple of people stepped in the mud by posting too soon or posting non-factual information. So I won't say who those groups were or who that was, but there were some groups that did it. And that really upsets the agencies, right? When there are people out there basically just saying what they want to say that makes absolutely no sense or that has no factual basis. I wanted to kind of clear the air on that of kind of what the truth is and what's really going on. I've waited a few weeks to comment on this because I wanted to get all the facts. But I can tell you now, that what you're reading in the articles is, inherently true on the part of, I'm putting the quotes, inherently true on the fact that there is a threat of CDFW not being able to fund the hatchery because of not having enough money that comes from the Bureau of Reclamation in order to do the normal mitigation of 4.5 million smolts, fall run Chinook salmon that come out of the American River Hatchery, and 415 or 430,000, I think, steelhead, ESA listed steelhead that are required through the mitigation measures to be raised at the Nimbus Hatchery under that measure. And because of that budget shortfall, you are now going to see a reduction that CDFW says if we don't get the money we need from the federal government to do our operations, we cannot raise 4.5 million Chinook. We can't feed them. We can't get the water from them. We can't have staff for them. We can't afford to raise that many fish. And we can't afford to raise the 400,000 plus steelhead. So therefore, they will be required to cut their production in half to 2.25 million smolts and to 215,000 steelhead. So, number one, in our eyes, that's unacceptable. It's a non-starter from us as anglers, as sportsmen, recreational anglers, and as all the businesses and guides that work on that river. But as well as it's unacceptable to everybody in the ocean that fishes recreationally in the ocean. It's unacceptable to the charter boat operators. It's unacceptable to the commercial operators. The American River Hatchery provides some years 5 to 8% of the recreational catch. But the commercial catch, it can provide upwards of 20% at years. So you're going to see, other years you can see higher rates or lower rates. You can go and see all those numbers through the Ocean Salmon Project and the contribution rate of each river on the sliver of the pie. If you catch 100,000 salmon in a pie, you have a divided sector that shows you, well, for example, 30% feather, 30% Coleman, 20% American, 20% McCollum, and then another sliver of the pie that says other stocks. And that could be some winter run, some spring run, some Oregon stocks, some coastal stocks, Smith River, Eel River, Klamath, Trinity. It could be all of those. So it will show the proportional catch. Every year, the CDFW puts out that report through the Ocean Salmon Project. So you can go up and look at that information yourself. But our concerns were, as on the American River, is how are we going to reduce production and cut it in half? And because it's not being funded. So we've been meeting with the state of California. We've been meeting with the Bureau of Reclamation. We've been meeting with congressional reps today. I've met with both Congressman Barra's office, and we've reached out to Congressman Kiley's office, and we are having conversations for support through the congressional representatives, which you all elected in your areas. The American River Hatchery, which runs trout, and the Nimbus Hatchery, which runs anadromous salmon and steelhead. Those two sit on Barra's and Kiley's district, right in between their two districts. So therefore, we reached out to them. That's our job. That's what all of you join as members to do. If you're not a member, go to ncgasa.org and sign up today for $30 to support us. so that we can represent you. But that's what we did today is we met with those offices, and we are happy to announce that we should be seeing a letter from those offices directed to the Bureau of Reclamation requesting that that funding get put into place. And so we're working hard for you to try to get that done. It doesn't mean that it will happen, but at least it's the proper steps that we're doing. We've worked on the state side. We've called the state reps. We're now working on the federal side, and we've called the federal congressional reps to hopefully represent you as the salmon interest and anglers, recreationally, commercially, or business related. It doesn't matter. We're all equal, and we all need to have salmon. And so the total shortfall, if you read the most recent report, came out from KCRA, and I think our social media gal posted it up. But the most recent report on social media from KCRA actually has correct factual data. I believe they got that from CDFW because it's identical and factually correct. So the number is, as the hatchery was operating at a $2.45 million budget, which the Bureau of Reclamation funded. They own the hatchery, and they are responsible to fund the mitigation and operation every year. They didn't want to have the staff out here, so they contracted out through CDFW to run their hatchery, and that's the way it's always operated. So it's a federal hatchery, federal responsibility, federally funded, but the state operates it. So the feds from 2020 moving forward for 5 years have funded it at about a $2.45 million dollar expense. And that's food, employees, everything that is needed at the hatchery for an annual operating budget. That is not logistics or maintenance or repairs or new purchases. None of that's included in those numbers. But this year, when the 5-year contract expired, they actually were talking about negotiating just a 1-year contract until they could get a new 5-year contract going. And in that 1-year contract, basically, the state said that costs have gone up. I don't know if any of you have realized costs have gone up since COVID, but for me, they've gone through the roof. I can barely feed a family of 4 anymore at a restaurant. I can barely fill up my gas tank. So when the state tells me that costs have gone up since 2020 to 2025-26 fiscal year, I understand that 100%. They have gone up. I don't agree with them going up, but I understand that they do go up. And so the cost has gone up of funding that hatchery roughly about 28 to 30% roughly. And so there's a budget shortfall of about $660,000. It's estimated that the hatchery needs about $3.16 million in order to keep everything status quo and raise the same amount of fish that we've been raising these last few years. The state has also said that they found a little bit of money in Prop 4 and possibly in other areas, even though that the state is in a huge deficit and they're cutting everywhere they can. The state, CDFW, has tried to find a little bit of money to make sure that they can continue with our PBT fry releases, and we're very grateful to them. So thank you again to CDFW's leadership, specifically the fisheries branch. Thank you to everything you guys are doing. We're so thankful to you guys. They're fighting for all of us, and they want to make sure that we raise as many fish as possible. So we've met with the Bureau, and we've talked to them about it. And the Bureau is basically saying, you know, you've operated a hatchery for so long at this amount. We gave you a little bit of bump. Instead of 2.45, we gave you 2.5. How come you can't fund the hatchery? And the state has basically said that costs have gone through the roof and everything else. And so you have a little bit of disagreement between state and federal governments over a budget. It's not like this has never happened before, but this has escalated to the point now that it is truncated down in such a short timeline that there's nothing more important on my plate in the next 11 days but to get this funded. I have 11 days working with my partner, George Bradshaw, PCFFA, and working with Golden Gate Fishermen's Association, Michael Racino and Johnny Atkinson, to try to make sure that the 3 groups get this done. And so we are taking the lead on this. There are no other groups that are working on this actively. And we're very happy that hopefully we're going to get this over the finish line for all of you. We're working as hard as we can. It's a small amount of money when you're talking government, $660,000, but we have to find that money in the next 11 days. Otherwise, American River Hatchery will be reducing production for 1 year at 50%, which is unacceptable to us. And we do not want that to happen, but they cannot afford to fund the employees, workers' comp, salaries, and everything else in order to get where we need to be. So that's the truth. That's what's going on in the American River Hatchery. Something else to really understand is those mitigation numbers that are really low, and we've always wondered why they're really low. Really interesting. Read a document from the 1950s, read another document from the 40s. Really eye-opening what's going on in the American River. So going to be happy to report starting next year, my board has directed me to now re-talk about the mitigation numbers on the American River. Let's start getting more fish out there. Let's get 10 million out of that American River hatchery. I think that's more correct of a mitigation number. 1 million steelhead, 10 million fall run Chinook. Those are the correct numbers that we should start seeing. And we're going to keep working towards that goal starting next year, moving into fiscal years 26, 27, and beyond. So I want to let you know that we are working as hard as we can for you to get those things done, and we are not going to stop. And we're hopefully optimistic that we're going to see a lot of good news coming out here in these next couple of weeks. So here's what you can expect. Over the next 11 days, I'll be working on the American River hatcheries and nothing but. Then I'll be working on nothing but our big annual fundraising dinner so that we can keep all of our consultants, lobbyists, employees, and everybody going for another year. Our big annual fundraising dinner is November 8th. If you're a guide, please reach out, donate a trip to help us out. If you're a business and you want to buy a table or buy some tickets to support us, please go to the website, ncgasa.org, buy some tickets to the dinner. They're almost sold out. We need your support. If you'd like to donate, you can't make it and just make a donation, please do that and help us out with the donation. We could really use your support. We need as much as we can to try to raise everything we can for the one big annual fundraiser to fund this organization every year. And we're very grateful to all of you that keep supporting us year in, year out, and we keep fighting for you every single year. That's what we're here for. So thank you. So November 8th, big dinner. Get there to support us. As soon as that's over, we're going to be moving right on into what the numbers are, and I'll be working on the balance of November and early December on what the actual numbers are. We'll do a live video right before Thanksgiving, and we'll talk about all of those numbers. I should have the Coleman numbers. I should have all the feather numbers. I should have the return numbers and everything by then, and I should be able to maybe give you the prediction on the 2026 season. So yeah, Cody Westgate, good point. The dinner opens at 3 p.m. We do not sell tickets at the door. It is a sold out event. I think there's 60 tickets left for the dinner. So make sure you get your tickets now at ncgasa.org or call Amy at 530-588-5513. But the rest of November, December, I'll be working on all salmon issues, working through the balance of that year. We will have some elections also this year for some new board members. So if you're wanting to serve on our board, or if you're wanting to serve as a volunteer or regional program manager, please reach out to us. We'll be working on that all at the end of the year. And then we're going to be announcing wonderful things at the International Sportsman Show in January in Sacramento. And we're going to be starting off and kicking off the new year of everything that this organization is working towards. I'm going to be 100% focused on salmon and steelhead in the year of 2026. I've had a lot of fisheries that we've been working on between inland fisheries, sturgeon, striper, shad, other anadromous fisheries, other lake fisheries, hunting issues, waterfowl issues, and everything else. But salmon and steelhead is the primary focus of my agenda in the calendar year of 2026, and we're excited to announce that we're going to start coming back. We should be seeing a much better ocean season. We should be seeing a much better inland season. We should be seeing a light commercial season, hopefully a big commercial season, but I don't know yet. I can't tell you yet until we get those numbers. So we're looking for the escapement numbers. How many fish total came back and escaped? 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. Not many 5-year-olds left in the system. They're pretty much all gone. Then we're going to talk about jacks. How many 2-year-olds? Because how many jacks come back predicts how many 3-year-olds come back the next year. And then we'll be looking at the preseason forecast minus the escapement, minus the harvest, and that will give you a realized SI forecast. And then from there, we'll be able to predict 2026. So Anyway, thank you all. I tried to keep this as short as I possibly can at 39 minutes. I guess that's short for me. Everyone, I really want to thank you for all of your support. Please go support us a couple different ways. Go to YouTube, check out our YouTube channel, smash the subscribe button, check out all of our other videos, and go to ncgasa.org today to help donate a trip if you're a guide, or to buy tickets at the dinner, or just to sign up, or go buy a t-shirt or a hat. A lot of new t-shirts and hats and swag on our website. Go check it out. All of that is recycled right back into the system. And kids, get ready for the dinner. I got some lifetime fishing licenses for you kids to give away to the kids, just like we do every year. There's no other organization that gives away lifetime fishing licenses every single year to our youth and a few to our adults. So get to our dinner. Thank you, everyone. I want to thank our membership, thank our donors, thank our sponsors. It's because of you. It allows us to go every day and continually fight for what's right and fight for all of you so that our kids and grandkids have a better future in all of our fisheries. Thank you all very much. Go to ncgasa.org today to sign up. Talk to you all soon.